welcome to episode 50 of the Craft House Magic podcast. Welcome everybody, my name's Ellie and I'm coming to you from Norwich in Norfolk in the UK, and today is the 4th of October 2018, so we're getting into the cooler months now. So I have for you today some knitting, some sewing, which is dressmaking, some bobbin lace and a blast from the past and gadget as usual, and then we have a few confessions. Oh dear. And some information on my shop update at the very end. So you can find me on Instagram, Ravelry, Twitter and all the social medias as Craft House Magic. So my new website is called crafthousemagic.co.uk, and that'll take you to where all my products are for sale, and also it'll have links to my blog and all the other social medias as well if you want to find those. And I'll put links to all of those things down below. So I mentioned on the last podcast I'd actually go and research another venue for our meetup venue that I was talking about previously, and I totally haven't because I've been so busy, because the website has kept me busy for the last couple of weeks. So the new website launched on the Friday after the last podcast and it's been super busy, so thank you so much for taking a look or placing an order. I've been really busy making those bobbin bags over the last couple of weeks, so that's been lots of fun. We have a couple of knit alongs or craft alongs going on in the Ravelry group. We've got the swim along, which is for the Goldfish memory shawl, which I will show you a bit later how I've been getting on with mine, and we've got the Christmas craft along. I've been absolutely rubbish about entering comments into the group over the last couple of weeks, just because it's been so busy with sort of getting to grips with the new website and things, but I will, after this podcast is uploaded, I'll be able to go on there and actually read people's comments because I haven't been keeping up to date with them. So I promise to do that today. And last week I wasn't able to do a tutorial just because I've been so busy, so I promised you either a tutorial on bobbin lace or the quilting, and I haven't actually deciphered whether people voted more quilting or bobbin lace yet because I haven't looked at the comments on there either, but I will catch up with myself and next week hopefully get a little episode, well not episode, get a little tutorial up on whatever you guys voted. So thank you so much. So we better get on to the good stuff. So let's talk about knitting first. I've got a couple of finished objects, and first I've got a cheat finished object because I didn't knit them. So I wanted, my mother-in-law Liz, hi Liz, has been knitting some couple of samples for me in my different colourways. So this is my Sweet Dreams colourway, and it comes with a little mini that's sort of denim blue, and this pattern that she's knitted is my Buttercup Socks, and these are quite a large version of those because she wanted them to be nice and loose, but I wanted to show you what how the colour sort of speckles up with the different yellows and blue and pinks in there and green. But she's going to be wearing these for herself once I've taken some pictures of them. So that's lovely. So thank you so much, Liz. It's nice to be able to see what the colourways look like knitted up. And I can't knit all my colourways because there's not enough time to do all the things I want to do. So there we go. There's the pair. And I do love a contrast heel and toe. And you can see that my Buttercup sock pattern has got this different stitch pattern on the heel. If you wanted to find that, you can find it on Ravelry. So there we go. That's my cheat first finished object. And I have another finished object, and it's my Goldfish memory shawl. Although I have a confession, I haven't actually sewed the ends in. It has been blocked. So let's find the beginning of it. So we had section 1 is here. Section 1, 2, 3, 4 I think. Section 5, 6, I think I'm counting them right, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. Yes, I'm right there. So I'm going to see if I can show you a little bit better. But it is quite a long shawl, and I'm really pleased actually because I can wrap it around and around, and that'll be really comfy to wear. I did actually sew the ends in halfway through the shawl when I was doing it, so it's only half of the ends I've got to to sew in, so I'll probably wear it wrapped around a couple of times depending on how cold it is, and I can sort of display the bits of the shawl that I fancy the most, I suppose. Well, the wrap, I should say. So isn't that pretty? I think that'll go with lots of things. Shame about all my ends here. In this section here, you could have actually run the threads up along the edge of the shawl, but for this particular one I felt that they were a little bit wide to be able to do that, to get them nice and neat, so I just chopped the ends off. I don't mind actually having to sew them in. So there we go. I shall leave it on then. I'll probably get a bit hot after I've worn it a while, but never mind. So that's my 2 finished objects for this time, and I have a couple of works in progress. So I have finished sock number 1 of my Jingle Bell socks, and there we go. They're not blocked properly, I've just popped them on the sock blockers, and they're a micro striped red and white with, well, I graded it down so you can see a little bit of pink in there, and I think that the pink makes it look more sort of like delicious, like a rock. And you can see how I did my sort of Christmas tree heel, which I am in the process of writing up at the moment, so that should be published before Christmas anyway, so you'll be able to get your hold of that. So there's sock number 1 finished, and I've also started knitting sock number 2, and I've got it on a little needle, a DPN case, but I've used it for my magic loop as well. And there's the little progress keeper that comes with the set if you choose to purchase it together. Is a little Jingle Bell with a rock. Well, obviously the candy cane, but it's still rock. That's why I say Jingle Bell rock. I still finding it funny. It's ridiculous, isn't it? So you can see that I've actually done the leg of the sock and I'm ready to do the heel. When I'm knitting this heel flap, I'll write out the instructions for it, so that you'll be able to download the pattern. Second work in progress is my Cha Chevron Socks, and this is by Sandra from the Cherry Heart podcast. And I haven't actually done very much. So these are my Strictly Come Dancing socks, and this is how I've got on so far. It's got a really cool chevron pattern, and actually this the photograph on the camera isn't doing the colours justice. It's absolutely gorgeous, this yarn. So this is Little French Meadows, and it's a disaster darling, which goes very well with my sort of Strictly sock along that I'm doing, because Ali from Little Drops of Wonderful has organised this wonderful knit along, and I've been a total failure because I watched it the first week and then I missed it this Saturday just because I've been so busy. So you can see how I've wound this ball. So on the first episode I completely forgot that I actually needed to wind the yarn before I cast on, so I actually hand wound it when I was watching Strictly. But I love these colours. Actually, that's more true to life than it showed up in the sock for some reason. I think it's just the way the light's going on the ball. So this comes with a navy blue skein, and I'm going to use that for heels and toes. And this is a 50 gram and a 20 gram sock set from Little French Meadow. And I shall show you the label. There we go. So it's a disaster darling. And I thought that was really funny. So I'm using 2.75mm needles, and the Progress Keeper I'm using came with the skein from Little French Meadow, and it's a lovely bright sunshine. Isn't that cute? So there we go. Loving this pattern so far. So I think the pattern came in a 56, 64 and 72 stitch count. So I normally do 60 stitches on 2.75mm needles, but I ended up doing the 64 just because that was the closest to be able to do the stitch pattern. So we'll see how that comes out. I think that'll be nice because it's, when I do 60 stitches it's kind of on the tight side anyway, so I'm sure that the 4 extra stitches won't matter. So there we are. That's my second work in progress. So you can, I've been absolutely rubbish about going on to Ali's of the Little Drops of Wonderful podcast Ravelry group, just because I haven't even looked at my Ravelry group this last couple of weeks. So we've got one more work in progress. So I picked up my Things Shawl again. I'm not quite sure if I'm pronouncing this correctly. Let's find the front page of the pattern. That's how it's written. The Things Shawl, and it's by Justina Lukowska. And there's a picture of how it looks. It's such a pretty two-colour shawl with a gorgeous, I think it's applied cable border around the edge. So I haven't got up to the cable border yet, but I've been doing the main body of the shawl, and it looks a little bit of a mess at the moment because I've not sewn any ends at all. So there's 6 of these sections before you get to the applied border, and I've done 3 so far, but obviously the more you knit, the bigger the rows get. So I'm hoping that maybe I'll finish those 6 sections with the sort of plain easy knitting by the next episode. Who knows? We'll try. So I love this very easy eyelet pattern. I think that she calls it like a snowflake or something like that. No, raindrops pattern, where there's just some regular eyelets along those sections, and then there's just some garter ridges in the pink. I am using 2 different yarns. Let me dig out some full. It's Baby Alpaca Silk by Drops, and this is a sort of mauvey pink. It's very slightly grey colour, but I don't think that the camera picks up the colour very effectively. And also this sort of turquoisey blue green, and its colour, this is 7402 and this is colour 1760. So I've got 3 skeins of each of those, and that should be plenty to be able to finish the shawl. I remember seeing on somebody's podcast, and I can't remember who it was, that they were running a little bit short on yarn when they'd only got 100 grams. But because I've got 150 of these, because they're 50-gram balls and I've got 3, I should have plenty, fingers crossed. So there we go. So this is on my Make 9. I've been looking at my Make 9 list and thinking I need to get on with it because it's now October and I've got quite a few things that I haven't finished on my list. I'm going to go back to my Madewell cardigan when I finish my Things Shawl, which will be another one off the list. And then there's a couple of other things I need to cast on. I have the yarn caked up to do the Christmas, I think it's the Night Before Christmas socks by Danny from the Little Bobbins podcast, that my lovely friend Lorraine had gifted me the pattern, and I have the yarn ready and the pattern printed out, and I just haven't cast them on yet. I just need to get started and then I'll be away. I do really want to knit them, there's just so many other things that are on the list. Oh, there's never enough time, is there? Never enough time. So that's all my knitting for this time. And I'm going to talk a little bit about sewing. So as I mentioned on the last podcast, I've been doing this course on a Thursday night. So we've got the next instalment this evening. And it's to do with pattern cutting. Now, I didn't realise what the words pattern cutting actually meant until my friend Jo mentioned it to me. So I'll reiterate what the meaning of pattern cutting is. So rather than taking a pattern that's already drawn out and adjusting it to your size, I'm actually going to be drawing the pattern out from scratch using my measurements without any other sort of pattern apart from the written guidelines that they give you. So in this course, the book that we've been recommended to have, or a lot of the information that she uses is taken from this book, is from this metric pattern cutting, and it's by, is it Winifred Aldridge? So I actually ended up picking up a copy for myself, and I got this from Amazon, and what I'll do is I'll link below where I got this from on Amazon specifically, so you can find it for yourself. I think it was £26, so I think it's on offer from about 32. You can get second-hand copies, but I just bought the newer copy just because the second-hand copies seemed quite expensive, so I just picked up one of these. So if I show you a quick little diagram of an example of how you might draw one of these panels out. So what we have to do on these last few sort of lessons that I've had is to make a block. So a bodice block, for example, or a trouser block is your measurements, and it is plus sort of fitting ease, but just so that it fits you exactly, and then from this block you can then draw patterns that are in your design, so you can design your clothes. So this is an example of the bodice fitting block, and it gives you instructions here of how you draw this out. So you basically start with a pencil, a ruler and a piece of paper, and it tells you how to sort of start off at point 1, and then you have to measure and using your measurements. So it sounds really complicated, and it probably is quite complicated, but once you've got your head into it, it's fine. But you need to put quite a lot of thinking time into doing this. So if you're really into the things actually fitting like I am, you might be interested in picking a copy of this book up for yourself. So far I only actually got the full copy of it yesterday, so I haven't had a great amount of time to flick through the pages, but the lady who runs the course, she mentioned quite a few chapters out of this, and I found those really useful of what she's actually talked about in the classes. So I think that this is going to be a really useful book. So I have made some muslins. This isn't going to be mega interesting, I'm afraid, of the bodice blocks, just to see if they fit. And I've just made a couple of little adjustments on there, but that's what I've got so far. I've made the bodice, one leg of the trousers, and so far this trouser block that I drew out myself, almost with a couple of little adjustments, I just need to raise the back waistline up a little bit, but that fits better than the pattern that I adjusted from my ultimate trousers, if you remember me showing you those. I'm so excited about this because it took me such a long time to adjust those ultimate trousers to fit me. It's a pain. But now that I've cut out my sort of drawn out pattern for the trouser block, and once I've made those adjustments, I'll be able to use this block to be able to just design any type of trousers I like. So I'm so excited. So I'm going to be cutting them out of manila card, like a brown card, so that then I can keep these templates for later. So that is so exciting. And then I've also got an arm as well, but I did notice that my arm doesn't fit very well just at the top here, so I'm going to have to make some adjustments. So I'm going to take these toiles to my class tonight, and I'm going to get my tutor just to help me adjust those. So that's my little bit of dressmaking. I'm hoping to have all my bodice block and my trouser block, and I've also got a skirt block that I'm starting to draw out. I'll have all those blocks cut out in the manila card by the next week, and I can actually get onto designing my own garments, which is very exciting. Although basically a lot of these designs I'm taking from patterns that I've already purchased and then I want to make it into my size really, and it's much easier to have these blocks that I know will fit me. It's so exciting. So we're now on to the bobbin lace section. So I did actually show you this panel ages ago, but I have finished the back panel, so I can use this book to show it to you. So this is the front of a lavender bag that I'd made up a little while ago, and I wanted to make a back panel for this so that it's just a plain torchon ground pattern of lace, so that'll fit on the back of the cushion. And what I'm going to do is line these with a fabric so that the white shows up against a different background. I might use like a pink fabric just on the inside of to where to put the lavender inside. That'll be nice. So you can see that there are lots of ends which I'm going to have to sew in, which are an absolute nightmare. But we'll get to it at some point. If I am actually lining it with something, I can thread some of the threads through to the inside of the fabric so that they don't show, because weaving in the ends into the bobbin lace is quite difficult to get it so it doesn't show too much, because it sort of thickens up some of the lace pieces, so I'm going to have to be careful with that. But I'm getting on with it, it's fine. So there we go. So that's my bobbin lace. Now we're going to do a blast from the past, combined with a gadget section. I'm going to take this off because I'm a bit hot in here, and I've got the heating on at the moment. I have my box of socks. These are my socks that I wear. There are actually a couple missing because I've worn them. But I just wanted to show you how I keep my socks in a little box. So this box is from WH Smith, and I bought a little set of boxes which I used to keep all my bits and bobs in. And one of the boxes I used to keep all my pairs of hand knitted socks. There are quite a few. These are just the ones that I've kept for myself. So you can see if I can describe them. So I'll just describe to you what some of these yarns are. So these 4 are my own hand-dyed yarn. This is Take On Me. This is Coming Around Again, Strawberry Fields and Over the Rainbow. And this is Pretty Little Zombies from Lolo Did It that I bought, and this is my sort of Halloween pair of socks that I've got. I'm going to have to knit some more while I'm wearing these for next year. This is some lovely yarn from Teresa Shingler, and I did her beautiful sock pattern, and I can't remember the name of the sock. I'll put it on the screen because and that's actually the name of the colourway as well, which is very useless of me. This is a Lay Family yarn button jar yarn that me and Kelly did with our collaboration with our button jar kit. And then I've got the old version of Strawberry Fields, which is slightly darker. Some Knit Picks Felici. I can't remember what this American yarn is. It's some that I picked up when we were on our honeymoon. This one is some hand dyed that I just did when I was messing around. This is a sock blank from Hedgerow Yarns, and this is some more Knit Picks Felici. Then I've also got another layer of socks, which I'll just show to you quickly, but I won't go through all the different coloured yarns. I'll just show you that there's another layer. I've just got socks everywhere now. So there's another layer. I've got quite a few socks in. Oh dear. So just a couple in there. I've got a little row of sort of Christmas themed socks there. This is Diane's Peggy May yarns, one of her yarns, and I think she just called it a Christmas colourway. This is the gingerbread colourway from Lay Family Yarn, and it's another West Yorkshire spinners there. So anyway, without going into too much detail, you can see where I keep my socks. I'm just going to put these away before I talk about anything else, because they're just going to be an utter mess otherwise. There we are, all nice and neat again. Well, more or less. I'll have a titivate later. I just needed to get them off the desk because it's taking up too much space. So that's where I keep all my socks. I don't like to sort of fold them onto each other because you get stretched cuffs that way, but it's nice to have a nice special box just for hand knitted socks. So there we go. Right, next section. Oh no, it's my confession. Well, because I'd had such a good last couple of weeks with everybody looking at my website, and thank you so much for purchasing things off my website, I thought I'd give back to the sort of handmade or small business community by buying some things from small shops or small businesses. I can't remember which order I ordered these in. Oh, I think I ordered my advent calendar first. So lovely Sally owns a shop called Me Mabel. And Sally has a lovely feed on her Instagram as well. She's got a gorgeous little puppy, which is Mabel. And this is her logo. And she has a separate website, which you can find a link to in her Instagram account. So you can find her at youandmemabel.co.uk, I think it is. Yes, that's right. youandmemabel.co.uk. Lovely. So I saw this on Sally's feed and I was like, oh, I need this. I already have an advent calendar, but I just needed another one. So it's a panel that you can sew. So this panel here, this part of the panel here is the background. And then you have the little sort of windows or little pockets that sew on the front of the calendar so that you can put your little sweeties in or little bits of yarn. I think that that'll be big enough to put a 5-gram mini of yarn in, I reckon. I think that I'm going to use it for that. So you get some instructions at the top of the block. I think I haven't actually read through the instructions, but quite often when they tell you to construct these type of things, they don't actually use a lining in them. Let's have a look. I don't think they do use a lining, but I'm going to use a lining on mine. And I was thinking of actually just doing a little mini tutorial of how I like to line things like this rather than just folding over the seam allowance and adding the block on, if that makes sense. You'll see when I do a little mini tutorial on it anyway. But I know that Claire, she's also bought one too, and I was thinking maybe we should do like a little sew along, doing advent calendars, not necessarily this panel, but other sort of panels and different versions of advent calendars that you can make at home. Maybe we should have like a weekend or a couple of weeks where we're doing a sew along, maybe on Instagram. What do you reckon? What do you reckon? It'll also force us to get it done before the end of December. Maybe we should do it in November, so then we're not doing it too early, but we're still in plenty of time for Christmas. So maybe at the beginning of November, what do you reckon? So I also got a lovely pattern for a sloth panel, and you can make this into like a quilt or a cushion cover, which is really lovely. And it says on the write-up that it's sort of conventional quilting, not quilting, patchwork techniques, where you cut the pieces to join them together. But I suppose you could also use a foundation piecing technique for this as well, but I think that the written instructions are for just traditional piecing there. But isn't that cute? I love it against the leaves. That would be nice if you used a fabric around the edge that was like a leafy fabric. That would be very cool, wouldn't it? Thank you, Sally. So that's purchase number 1. There's more. I mentioned on the last podcast that I'd bought one of Lay Family Yarns, Kelly's Afternoon Tea Club. I couldn't remember what it was called then, how silly. If you haven't seen it yet, don't look. I will tell you to look back, and I won't describe it, I'll just show you. Isn't that lovely? So you get yarn and a little progress keeper, and the progress keeper's made by Cheryl at Chapel View Crafts. And again, I won't tell you what it looks like in case you're not looking. And it arrived yesterday, so that was lovely. So that's one of my purchases. You can look now, I've hidden it. I'm sure everybody's got it already, but just in case, because it's so annoying when it's not a surprise. I also bought the, it's a Disaster Darling yarn that I showed you I'd already cast on for the Strictly socks. So that was naughty. But it's already been purposed, so it doesn't count. And then I've been meaning to order some of Marie's yarn again, because I had, Marie kindly sent me a skein to try out, and she's got a brand called Mint Bee Yarn, and has an Etsy shop, and this is the Bee Royal base. It's baby camel and silk, and it's absolutely dreamy to knit with, because the first skein I had was Rhubarb Crumble. And this colourway, I've completely forgot what it was actually called, and I don't know if it's written on the skein. No, I don't think it is. I'll look it up and I'll put it on the screen, but this is a grey with some navy bits in it, and I thought that this would be ideal for a Christmas hat, either for Adam or my dad, I think, so we'll see. But I had to have another one of her skeins, and she so kindly sent me some, and I absolutely loved it, so I wanted to support her shop and to buy one off there. So she's Mint Bee Yarn on Etsy. Absolutely love her bases. All her bases are really like sort of luxurious bases. There's a lady I follow who does some beautiful pin badges, which I've shown before on the podcast, and I can't think of what they're called. Oh, Nutmeg and Arlo, that was it. So she does, let's grab one of my bags. So she does these sort of, so this one here, and this one here, and this cat here, that is all from Nutmeg and Arlo. And I follow her feed on Instagram, and she'd took a photograph of one of these pins with one of her ghost pins. And I went straight to the shop, and it's coconut char. And how cute is this badge? How lovely. Make Magic, is it? I can't remember. Yeah, Make Magic. And I thought how appropriate for Craft House Magic is, and there's little bits, there's little balls of yarn and yarn with little knitted needles and some scissors and rulers and all sorts there, and some books. And I thought that would be absolutely lovely. So I picked up one of those, and her card came through, and how cool is that? It's like really super shiny. So she is Coconut Char, and she has an Etsy shop. I don't know if you can see that very well on the, I'm trying to angle it. So she has an Etsy shop, and she has the most beautiful pins and stickers, and she popped in a little sticker, and I thought that was very good. The book is better. The book was always better. So that was also an Etsy purchase. I think it's so lovely that people have been able to create their own businesses on places like Etsy and actually support themselves from making things and being creative. So it's really nice. And I also picked up a pin that was from Betsy Makes. So Sam from Betsy Makes also has another lovely podcast. And I've been eyeing this yarn ball and crochet hook pin for ages. So I had to buy it. And I also picked up one of her little minis because minis don't count. So this is Aegean, I can't remember how you pronounced it, Sam, sorry. Aegean C, and it's Sam from Betsy Makes, and she has also got an Etsy shop. Oh, I've unwound it, look. Anyway, you get the gist. I'll have to tidy it up a bit later. I've obviously been fondling it way too much. So that, I should tell you what the base is on that. So it's a fingering weight, and it's in her Sublime sock base, and it's a nice squishy sock yarn. So that's a really lovely colour. She'd sell some lovely project bags as well as her yarn as well. There we go. And I also, this is a very business related, so I'm allowed. I saw that lovely Vicky from West Green Loft Yarns had ordered a gorgeous stamp, and it was from this company, the Little Stamp Store on Etsy, and you can actually order things that are custom, so you can send her a picture and she'll make a stamp for you. How cool is that? So I had to have a Craft House Magic stamp, and it came with a little bag, and they've obviously tested out the stamp on the front, and that's why my stamp's going to look. And they're like an acrylic back, and then it's made out of like a gel stamp there, and it's brilliant. I think I've got a little example where I printed it in pink here somewhere. It's a little bit creased, I'm afraid, but that's how it's going to look. I'm so pleased, so much detail. So I definitely recommend the Little Stamp Store, and they give you instructions of how to take care of your stamps as well. So absolutely, definitely recommend that company. It came really quickly, and she was very helpful on the type of stamp I needed to order as well. So I ordered the standard stamp, because you could order a deeper stamp that is used for pottery and things, and I wondered whether the deeper stamp was better for stamping on fabric, but she said the standard stamp is fine. So I definitely recommend that. And it comes with some cute little paper clips as well, but I've put them away somewhere. I don't know what I've done with them. So that's another purchase. I'm so naughty, but that's business related, it's fine. Oh dear. Anyway, I think that's all of the very naughty things. Oh, I also ordered this book as well that I showed you before, but I've already talked about that, so I won't go into it again. So I've cheated a bit, because some of my confessions are spread out all over the whole podcast. And me and my lovely friend Donna from Inner Pickle Knitting. Now, Donna has the most amazing podcast. She does a podcast that's mainly on knitting, but she also does sewing and other lovely crafts too. But the highlight, I think, is that she talks about children's literature books that are related to fibre sort of things, and it basically encourages children to learn about those things that aren't, I don't know whether it's in a lot of the school curriculums anymore, to learn about sort of fibre arts and all those sort of old techniques like weaving and knitting and things. So I think it's really lovely that she's been able to find so many really inspirational books out there for children. So don't forget to check out Donna's podcast. But we did a little swap, and Thank you so much, Donna. She sent me the most amazingly ridiculous amount of yarn. It is, oh my goodness, Donna, it's absolutely brilliant. But I'm not going to show you everything, but I just thought that there was a couple of really interesting ideas that you could use if you're doing swaps as well, because I think it's so exciting to do swaps. Donna uses egg boxes to put her minis in. How cute is this? We don't actually have clear egg boxes very often in the UK, so if you are in the US, you could save up these boxes to do little swaps with. I'm sure they'll probably do them somewhere in the UK, but I just thought that was so sweet because you can see all the yarns in there individually that look like little eggs. And also she sent me some yarns that are wrapped in actual Christmas fabric, so that I'm going to open those for my advent. That is absolutely amazing, Donna. So this I thought was a brilliant idea. So they're little charm pack squares that she's wrapped each of the little yarns with, so I'll have a surprise for every day in Advent. How gorgeous! Thank you so much, Donna. And she sent me this most wonderful card, and I looked on the back and I could see that you could actually purchase them from a company. I'll show you the front first, but how wonderful. It's actually a little piece of knitting that's knitted with these tiny little knitting sticks. Absolutely amazing, and the company that you can get it from is listed on the back there. So if you live in the US, I don't know if they post out to the UK or anything, but they're the Itty Bitty Witty Knitties cards. That's a mouthful, isn't it? But absolutely beautiful, Donna. That is the most wonderful card. And she also sent me some other lovely bits and bobs too, but I won't show you all those. Oh, it's such a pleasure though doing a little swap with somebody. And Donna, I have got your package. I've started to package it up, and I'm hoping that I'll have time to package it up in the next few days and send it off to you. And also Donna sent me some beautiful dishy yarns. I've just picked out two to show you, but initially I commented that she'd been knitting with some of this Knit Picks dishy yarn, and I wondered how it knitted up. So that's what she said. She wanted to do a parcel for me, and I said we'd do a swap. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about my shop update. But if you're not interested in watching, don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more, and I shall see you in the next episode in a couple of weeks. So the shop update will be on Friday, which is tomorrow, the 5th of October, and I'm going to change my update time to 2 PM because I had a couple of people mentioning that they were unable to get to the shop update at a time at 10 o'clock British summertime. So I'm going to try 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but if you do find this an awkward time, please let me know and I'll try and alternate between different times of the day. So in the shop this Friday, I'll have lots more little kits where I've got these little scissor cases with the little bulb stitch markers with a needle, and I always include the needle I use is the John James size 18 tapestry needles to be able to sew your ends in for knitting, and I include these Millward scissors that are my favourites, so you know that then the scissors definitely fit inside the scissor case. And I'll just shut this up so you can see what it looks like when it's closed. So there's a little button and a buttonhole right at the front, and you can see what that looks like. And I love this fabric, it's got little yarn balls on it, and I've got this design as well as another design that's got like a burgundy and teal colourway, and I'll pop a picture up here. So there'll be quite a few more of those in the shop. You've got the option to buy the scissors and the other contents, or you can just buy the scissor case on its own if you'd prefer. I will also have some sets for the Jingle Bell Rock with an option of getting the Progress Keeper as well, which I haven't got on these, but you saw them earlier in the podcast. And I'll also have some sets for the Sweet Dreams socks I showed you earlier as well. I'm also going to be including some more pre-orders for the Robin bags because I've just had another shipment of the fabric. And if I can find, I've got one more, I've got one to show you, one left over. So I showed you this on the last podcast, but it's a little robin that's made with the plique, and I've done free motion for the feet and the footprints across the bag here, and on the back it's got a little holly berries and Craft House Magic. I did have one person ask for footprints instead of the holly berries, which I did on the pre-orders for last week. So if you do want something different on the back, just let me know. I don't mind doing that at all. And I also do a zipped version as well, it's just probably about that high with a zip across the top, where it looks the same for the rest of it. And I normally put a red ribbon on for the zipped closure as well. So, but this is a drawstring closure. Obviously, you have the option for a drawstring or the zipped closure. So I think that's all for shop update for this week. If you see anything in the shop that's not actually listed on a different yarn base, for instance, just let me know and I'll have that updated for the next shop update. So next week I shall have a tutorial up for you, and then I'll be back with a podcast again for you in 2 weeks. So have a lovely couple of weeks between now and then. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I shall see you later. Bye!